Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to break down a real, everyday conversation between two people. We'll call them Alex and Emma. And we're talking about a topic that literally affects every single one of us, our morning routines and eating habits. You know, how you start your day really sets the tone for everything that follows, right? And honestly, analyzing how other people do it, it's actually incredibly eye-opening.
But hey, before we go any further, I want you to just stop for a second and ask yourself, what did you have for breakfast today? As we decode this chat between Alex and Emma, you're probably going to notice that you naturally align with one of them. So are you an Alex? Or are you more of an Emma? Keep your own habits in mind as we walk through their routines. Let's find out where you stand.
All right, let's jump right into section one, the breakfast debate, to eat or to skip. Right off the bat, there's this huge contrast in their lifestyles. On one side, we've got Alex. He takes a very pragmatic, honestly kind of hurried approach to his mornings. I mean, he usually eats, but he admits that he sometimes completely skips breakfast just because he's in a rush. Then, on the exact opposite side, there's Emma. Emma has this steady, super planned out routine. She tells Alex that she always eats breakfast before she goes to work. For her, it's just non-negotiable. And that really highlights Emma's core philosophy here. She states it loud and clear, saying, I think breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So why does she feel so strongly about it? Well, she explains to Alex that it's basically her primary source of energy. If she skips that morning meal, the consequences hit her immediately. She feels super tired and really hungry way before lunch even rolls around. She literally just can't afford to skip it. But you know, as they discuss, human habits vary wildly. Alex brings up a fascinating counterpoint here, his own brother. Alex points out that his brother never eats breakfast, yet claims he feels perfectly fine. No crash, no hunger pangs. Emma concedes that, yeah, maybe he's just used to it, but she admits she could absolutely never operate that way. So the takeaway here is that different bodies and different lifestyles adapt to morning routines in entirely unique ways. And these differing philosophies, they also deeply dictate their timelines. Look at how their mornings are staggered. Emma is eating right around 7 a.m. to proactively build up that energy block before her day even starts. Alex, on the other hand, eats a bit later, around 8 a.m. And on weekends, he pushes that meal way later into the day. So the when we eat is just as deeply ingrained as the what. Moving right along to section two, what's on the menu? Fueling the morning. So during those busy weekdays, Alex keeps things really quick and simple. We're talking cereal with milk or maybe a sandwich. Emma, meanwhile, opts for eggs, bread, maybe a cup of tea, and some fruit. But watch what happens on the weekend. When they actually have some free time, they both elevate these highly practical weekday meals into total treats. Alex goes for his absolute favorite, cheese toast with scrambled eggs. Sounds pretty good, right? Meanwhile, Emma indulges in pancakes topped with honey and fresh fruit. It really just shows the shared appreciation they have for slowing down and savoring the weekend. Now, you obviously can't talk about breakfast without talking about the drinks. And here we see another incredibly sharp divide in their habits. Alex absolutely relies on a single cup of coffee every single morning. As he says, it actively helps him wake up. Emma, however, she avoids it entirely. She prefers tea, mainly because she finds that coffee sometimes makes her feel anxious or nervous. It's actually a great moment to reflect on your own morning drink. Is it giving you focused energy, or is it just bringing on the jitters? Okay, so just as important as what they do eat is what they absolutely refuse to eat. They both have very strict boundaries here. Alex says he rarely touches sweets for breakfast. No pastries or sugary stuff for him. Emma is absolutely adamant that she never eats spicy food in the morning. She tells Alex it just doesn't feel right. Defining what we don't like often shapes our daily habits just as strongly as our favorites do, wouldn't you agree? All right, let's look at section three, home cooking versus cafes, where to eat. So, despite all their differences in timing and coffee consumption, here is where Alex and Emma find total 100% agreement. They both largely avoid cafes for breakfast. Why? Well, they agree that cafes are just way more expensive. They also agree that homemade food is generally much healthier. And importantly, Alex points out that cooking his own breakfast is actually really simple and just doesn't take much time. They both enjoy cooking and view it as a highly useful, practical life skill. Emma anchors this shared perspective perfectly with this quote. She says, homemade breakfast is usually healthier and cheaper. And that's really the bottom line.
Even with Alex's rushed schedule and Emma's highly structured routine, the economic and health benefits of just utilizing their own kitchens win out over the convenience of a cafe every single time. Which brings us to Section 4, Global Breakfast Cultures Beyond Toast and Cereal.
Now, Alex points out that if we look at other countries, the whole concept of breakfast completely shifts. He notes that in some places, people wake up and eat rice, soup, or even noodles. Think about that for a second. The idea of eating a bowl of noodles or hot soup for breakfast completely shatters that typical Western idea that the morning meal has to revolve around bread or eggs or cereal. The very definition of a morning meal drastically changes across borders.
And that leads to a really important point from Emma. She says culture has a big influence on food. This is such a crucial takeaway. Our surroundings, our upbringing, the society we live in, all of it deeply and fundamentally shapes exactly what we crave when we first open our eyes in the morning. And by the end of this thought, both Alex and Emma excitedly agree that trying these diverse global breakfasts someday would be incredibly fun and, for sure, delicious.
Of course, there is a very natural hazard to talking about pancakes, cheese toast, and international noodle soups. By the end of their conversation, they both realize they are getting incredibly hungry. It's a pretty wonderful, lighthearted moment to end on. Simply discussing all these diverse, local, and global foods was literally enough to make them wrap up their chat right then and there, so they could actually go and have breakfast.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative thought. If culture dictates our cravings and our routines shape our energy for the entire day, what is your breakfast really saying about you? Are you rushing out the door, grabbing whatever's close, or are you sitting down to consciously fuel up? The next time you pour that morning cup of coffee or pop that bread in the toaster, take a second to think about the why behind it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope you learned a little something new about your own habits, and I'll catch you next time.